Mm.
I remember his tears just falling onto the cars, uh, on the overpass. So I start crying, bro. And then I start screaming again, I love you, bro, because it's so loud. And he makes eye contact with me. And then we have this moment where he's choosing between, me and the great beyond. And that's when I had this feeling to just jump up there, like I was 18 again, and just grab him. So I jump up there, grabbed him, lifted him over the fence like he was just a sack lunch, and held him in my arms. And then I slid down to the safety of the sidewalk on my side, and just sat and cried with him, bro, and just said, "I love you, bro." And he was holding on to me just with everything he had, and I was holding on to him, and just had this like incredible, like, I want to say like 2 minutes, but it wasn't. It was probably more like 45 seconds or something, where time, stops.
Sure.
And then we had this magical, peaceful experience of love and safety.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Walking with the Savior podcast. I'm your host, John Merrill Kirkman. I'm so excited to be here. Don't forget, you're awesome. And CTR, choose the Redeemer. Well, today we talk about Christ, we preach of Christ, and we podcast about Christ. So we're all inspired to come unto Christ. Today I got my man, Joe Tuia'ana.
Yo.
Joe, I was blessed to have Joe's daughter. Yeah, hello. Shout out to Ave. Love you, sis.
Love you, Abe. She loves you too, man.
Yeah, and I had his daughter in my class, and she introduced me to Joe. I'd heard Joe's story. Joe's got a remarkable story, and I hold up signs that say "You're awesome." I wear T-shirts that say "You're awesome." And part of the way that started was because I was pondering this subject, and the subject was teenage suicide. And I was looking at some statistics, and I was heartbroken by it. And as a teacher for 28 years, I've lost a couple students to suicide, and maybe more that I'd never heard about, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
One Sunday, I was pondering this subject, and I was like, what could I do? And then I decided to show up at school with a sign that says "You're awesome." And I made a sign, and I started pointing to students, show them the sign, see a smile. That's just a little bit about my story. So I have a passion for this subject as well. And Joe took the passion to another level. Let's start, Joe, with your story on the bridge, and let's just go from there.
Sure. So awesome to be here with you, man. Thank you
Oh,
for having me on. I love to be able to come and be real, especially talking about anytime that we can talk about something so stigmatic as suicide
mm,
and mental health, and have an application of the Lord in
love that.
that discussion. It's very supremely unique. So I appreciate you having me on, bro.
Oh, thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, so I just a dude, just an average Joe. I mean, I have very good qualities, like we all have, unique, gifts from God that I'm super appreciative of. But 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, wow,
When are you thinking this was? What month?
2022. This is January.
January
Yeah,
2022.
it's January 29th. Now that I think about it, so it's just crazy because the time is flying since then, without everything that's happened. And so this was, in the middle of winter, and this just happened to be driving to a basketball game on an overpass here that we take normally all the time to get to school and other activities, and we just happened to pass a guy who was in a suicide crisis, and I had a unique opportunity that was heartbreaking and heart growing, heart leveling up, whatever you want to say, experience with being able to love him off the ledge, so to speak. And so I had my kids with me at the time, and I mean, at the time I had double pneumonia. I was 2 weeks sober. I just quit drinking alcohol, and just not anyone who would pass any sort of checklist or to be that guy that someone else needs at all.
Yeah, so you're not in
So,
hero mode
oh
going
my
like,
gosh.
"I'm a superhero, let's drive around and save somebody's life."
Oh, no, no, heck no. So, I mean, at that time, it was super heavy for me. I was sick and I'm tired, and I had, again, pneumonia. We just got done with having COVID.
Ugh.
And so this happened, and, we pulled over, and I got out. I told my kids, being a full time single dad, raised my kids, and I told, my oldest daughter to call police, and then had my other two just, I just said, chill here, and dad's got this kind of a thing.
Wow.
And it's crazy because I did not got this, man.
So when you say he's in a suicide mode, was he on the bridge, ready to
Yeah, he had, there was we passed him, and there was a time where I was looking in my rearview mirror, my kids were looking out the back window, and he pulled his car over. He got out and then freaking ninja jumped over this protective fencing, that they have to try to deter people from, anything like that. And then he started standing on the other side of this fencing, facing, looking down onto Interstate 15 here in
Oh,
Utah.
wow.
And so and then it got real quick, real quick, I should say. And so I got out of my car
Did you
and
flip a U-turn or you're
dude,
just
oh
in
man, I flipped the U-turn,
flip the U-turn?
went and parked behind his car, and then that's when I had that conversation with my kids. I closed the door, and I for maybe 3 seconds, I thought I was gonna throw up because of the weight of my blood pressure just jumped, and then it got to a point I thought I was gonna pass out.
Oh
I
my
started
goodness.
like I don't know if you ever sweat so bad that like water's pouring out of your face almost, and that's how it was. It was just
Like
oozing, like just
instant.
instantly. And because of the weight and the gravity of this situation, and so I said a quick prayer, just saying, "Please, Lord, let this guy know that he's loved."
Wow.
And um, and then it's not like the Red Sea partying or water into wine situation. But I had after that prayer, I would say an extra measure of confidence. And so I was thinking, okay, all right, Joe, what should I do? What should I say here? And I was afraid just by looking like me. I mean, I'm 6'3", 300 plus pound brown
Two
Polynesian
two
dude.
hundred pounds.
Yeah, working on it. Yeah, one half of my body's 200 pounds. Yeah, the other half. But I was thinking, just by being me, I might actually make the situation worse. I could
Oh, that's an
intimidate him.
intimidating thought. That's a
You know?
scary thought,
Oh my
bro.
gosh, it was so scary, bro. And so I was thinking, okay, well, how could I make myself less intimidating? And so I thought to myself, just, well, what about I just open my arms to him like I want to give him a hug?
Mm.
And maybe that will make, ease some of the pressure for him. And so I did. I opened my arms to him like I want to give him a hug. And I started walking towards him. And it's super, bro. It's super loud on overpasses. Like, if you ever walked over one, the traffic,
Yeah,
everything,
that's a
it's loud.
busy.
It's a busy interstate. It's a
Yeah.
busy overpass. So there's all of this noise, and then I almost started just screaming to him. The first thing that came to my mind was just, "I love you, bro." And so I repeated that, "I love you, bro," over and over with my arms open to him, walking towards him. And, I finally got, maybe 3 feet away from him, directly under him. He's standing on the sledge. I'm underneath him on the other side of this fence. And
Is he turning and looking you? At what point is he
he
turning and looking?
finally, this is a good question. He's finally started looking at me, and he hears what I'm saying, and he is just crying, bro. He's just so sad, man. So of course I start crying. So and
Mm,
I remember his tears just
mm.
falling onto the cars, on the overpass. So I start crying, bro. And then I start screaming again, "I love you, bro," because it's so loud. And he makes eye contact with me, and then we have this moment where he's choosing between, me and the great beyond. And that's when I had this feeling to just jump up there, uh, like I was 18 again, and just grab him. So I jump up there, grabbed him, lifted him over the fence like he was just a sack lunch, and held him in my arms, and then I slid down to the safety of the sidewalk on my side, and just sat and cried with him, bro, and just said, "I love you, bro." And he was holding on to me just with everything he had, and I was holding on to him, and
Wow.
just had this like incredible, like, I want to say like 2 minutes, but it wasn't. It was probably more like 45 seconds or something, where time, stops.
Sure.
And then we had this magical, peaceful experience of love and safety. And from there, society started showing up, meaning like the first guy who came over, maybe again a minute and a half later or so, and he's like, you know, why would you want to do this?
Well, 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 well.
This first guy to Aaron, my new little brother I loved off the ledge. There, it
Oh, he was just kinda, like, shaming him into, like, suicide is so selfish type of stuff.
I think he was trying to be helpful, like most people would want to be,
Yeah.
but he just didn't know how to approach.
Sure,
So,
sure.
no, no, and a lot of us don't.
Exactly.
So, but he did. Like, why would you want to do this? Like, oh, you don't need, life is worth living. Like that type of,
Yeah.
approach. And then the next girl who came was this lady. She said, do you have kids? And he nods yes. She, what would your kids think about this?
Oh,
Like, it was just,
no.
bro.
This
It
is
was
the wrong message.
it was just one horrible, shameful comment after another, and this guy literally just got off the ledge, and so from there he was helped out. The police came, the first responders, they were all wonderful, and then I had a crowd, just I want to say 100 people, just the
No way.
shutting down this overpass, pulling over, and and so they, after they had taken him, and like my kids had to come peel me off the side. Like I had nothing. Whatever energy or strength the Lord gave me at that time, it was removed from me, and I could barely walk back to my car, and all these people were just cheering, and it'd be wonderful, but I was just like, I can't even stand here, so exhausted from the emotional and physical toll that this experience had just had on me. And so I got in the car, drove, away. We actually went back to the basketball. We went to the basketball game. We sat there like freaking zombies. He had seen the story. Story went viral online. My mom
Oh,
shared it with KUTV. They came, did an interview. I wanted nothing to do with.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was very sacred. It still is very sacred to me. And then he saw his own story online, and he reached out to me through Facebook and said, "Thank you for saving my life. I'm sorry that that you had to go through this, and sorry I made you late for your kids' basketball." Like, just what? I'm like, I'm crying. It's like 5 in the morning. I'm just crying because I was hoping to see him again,
Okay.
and then we
And
had.
alive.
Yeah, and doing well and
Yeah.
getting better. And so I invited him and his mom and his son over, and they came over, had dinner with me and my girls, and I just let him talk, and he talked about, he just happened to be a dude who was just a normal guy having a terrible week, 3 or 4 days,
Yeah.
and he had an impending divorce. He had, a couple choice horrible things happen and said to him that made him question his worth and his value. And it could have happened to any of us, kind of a situation. And so we Googled together what resources were for him, and we found nothing. There's nothing we could
Nothing.
find him that
Nothing.
to get him any help. I wanted to help him, and that's when I was thinking, I need to do something about this.
Wow. Wow.
Crazy, yeah.
And now we fast forward, just fast forward, just to give you an idea where Joe's at now. When he says, "I need to do something about this," we just had an event with hundreds and hundreds of people, and booths and firewalk and singers and speakers. And I mean, when you say you're going to do something about this, this is huge.
Yeah.
But how has this shaped you because you began this heroic journey. And
Mhm.
when you were talking earlier, you said the call. Why do you refer to it as a call?
Well, I think I think we're all invited to at a spiritual level by the Lord. I think we're all inspired to do magical things that we can do with His help. And I feel, again, before this experience, I was connected with suicide through my best friend dying by suicide. And I cared about suicide. I missed him and I thought it was a tragedy and I knew it was a problem, but I was not connected to the message. And I feel that experience, the Lord invited me. I think, foreordainment, pre-called, whatever you want to call it, he invited me to make an impact. And so I accepted the invitation, and luckily, I was able to say, with his help, the right thing at the right time. I tell people I wish I need that guy saying, I love you, bro. Sometimes we all need, not everyone has a story that ends with good with suicide at all, you know? And so, excuse me. So I feel like I was called to make an impact. And it got to a point where, is this just a nice story to tell my kids and be on podcast, tell, or can it be a moment that turns into a movement? And that's where I felt, okay, well, this is, I have an obligation to do something here with this experience, and I see that there's a need, and so I'm obligated to do something with that, with an ability I have. I'm great at talking to people. I got no shame in sharing my feelings and emotions. Obviously, I love I cry. It's part of, my heart burns. I say my heart burns, and so my eyeballs sweat a lot. Um, that's just the way I am. That's the way I exercise that part of my life. And so I did. And so I started with a simple support group to help Aaron, my new little brother, just to help him. Everything started just to fulfill the need he had.
Mm,
And then it just so happens that the need is society wide, community wide, where there's many got men out there who need the same things. And so it started with that, helping Aaron, and now look where it is now.
yeah.
So,
I just want to jump back to the whole title now of your organization and what you said on that bridge and how you prayed that you would say the right thing or know what to say.
yeah.
And a lot of times we don't act because we're like, I don't know what to say. And now you do. Now you do. Now you do. And it's in any situation. I think it's universal. I love you, bro. I love you, sis. Like if somebody like sometimes for example it's like somebody loses a friend or a spouse and somebody dies and it's like I want to go over there, I just don't know what to say.
Mm,
You now know what to say. You show up, you say I love you, bro, or I love you, sis, and you give a hug if they're open to that, or you just sit with them and cry the way you did.
oh, I love that. That's his, and
It
again, none of these things were comfortable for me.
of
It
course.
takes, to your point, in any situation with anyone, in any who's going through whatever challenging time, those key things, those principles that you just mentioned, just being present and just crying. There's so much. I mean, you can, if you're taking Jesus, the concept of Jesus and loving others. And there are so many times in the scriptures where the Lord just sat and he cried with people, and
Yeah.
Jesus wept. And so trying to give men, particularly for me, a practice field, so to speak, to weep with others,
Mm.
to be able to practice, how to share and show and recognize your emotions. It's not a popular thing to do in this society. It's getting more and more leaning towards that
Sure.
way, little by little. That's the idea, but it's still we're just offering guys spaces to do so, to get some practice in, shame free.
Yeah, and I think there's a few good phrases right there. So you begin with "I love you, bro." "I love you, sis." If a friend's struggling, and it doesn't just have to be suicide. But of course, you know, th I think these are the magic 3 words. I love you.
I do too. I do too. Doesn't, and a lot of guys ask me, Joe, you say that to everybody.
Yeah.
And you can't mean it every time. And I'll tell you, ever since I said it to Aaron on that overpass, that phrase has meant something so totally different and upgraded than before.
Yeah.
And so I always say that I was very similar to the Grinch, where my heart grew 3 sizes that day, and it
Yeah.
did. So tell every guy who comes to our groups, I tell the people, especially the people who are important in your life, and even the people who aren't as important to you or as close to you. I do tell them I love you, bro, and it's not because I don't mean it. It's the best way to start
Yeah.
a conversation like that, an uncomfortable one.
An uncomfortable one. And so you said, so we begin with "I love you, bro. I love you, sis," if it's a woman, and then you said provide space.
Yeah.
You are providing space for people, and somebody that's going through something hard. I think it's crucial just to sit with them. Stop your yapper.
Please.
You know, the guy that shows up and say, "What will your kids think?" Stop.
Oh my gosh. Parents, especially with parents, and I am a parent.
Yeah,
Again, I'm a full
me too.
time single dad of 3 daughters, and so I do know a thing about patience, and I have learned the hard way in many uncomfortable, conversations with them. But having, now taken again, being, I feel, foreordained to do this work, I think the Lord knew that it took and needed this required experience that I had with my, uncomfortable conversations and being able to be transparent and have difficult conversations, that has completely upheld me in this work in conversations with these men and with the men within the I Love You Bro project. But creating space, people, if you were to take away anything as far as comments that I make today, I would say, the one thing is, people are so worried about saying the right thing. Saying the right thing is not nearly as important as creating the right space. And
Ooh.
so when I say that, it's creating the right space is you are an active, or I should say proactively creating an atmosphere around yourself that is open, that is, again, transparent, and that is empathetic and compassionate, that people will consider you to be someone safe
Yeah.
and shame free to talk to, and that you won't. You said it perfectly. Shut your mouth and don't try to fix things. As men, we try to just fix and
We're fixers.
control things,
Yeah, we're built with a screwdriver in the back
My
pocket.
gosh, yeah.
And a tape
so
measure.
bro, that's so perfectly said. Because we try to just fix people and situations. And I think the I Love You Bro project, part of our fundamentals in the support group system is learning how to just not your fixing or your maintenance, what you feel of this situation requires you just to take a step back, sit down, shut your mouth, pretend like there's some duct tape over your mouth. Like, I'm a visual guy, so I pretend like I'm putting some duct tape on my mouth. And then, like with my kids, I'll say, would you like counsel on this? Or do you just want a space to talk
I love that.
and listen?
I love that.
So,
Asking, would you like me to share an idea with you,
yeah.
or would you like me to just sit here and listen?
Yeah.
And yeah, that one's important in marriage too. My wife says the same thing. I'm like, before you start, you want answers? You want ideas? You
Yeah,
want a listening ear?
Yeah. Well, I think it's fundamental for every relationship, that
True.
you have, especially the close ones. I mean, and I'm divorced. Again, I've been divorced for, 13, 14 years now. And I am not the person you want to come to for married advice, but to the point of coming from the guy who's divorced, and I can see now hindsight, all the mistakes that I made in my marriage. Listening was one of them, and following through with what I had listened to, and being able to use the information and apply it within my communication. We just don't do it enough, man. We just don't listen with our heart, when we're just hearing, we're not listening.
And really taking, today one of the struggles is just connecting, and connection is threatened often, most often, I would say, by digital device. And
Yeah.
I've started to, and I'm not perfect, okay, but I've started to notice, hey, I need to put my phone away in this situation when I go into certain places, or when I'm gonna go meet with certain people, or when I'm gonna have a date with my wife, or I'm being with my kids. I'm
Mm,
gonna put my phone away and just connect. And that alone sends a strong, powerful message. And I think that's part of creating the space, right?
yeah,
Like I'm not gonna talk to you and scroll.
yeah. We're all addicts, to a
Yes,
point,
to an
um, uh, to some level of with technology, but I think again, it's put the duct tape over the phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the duct tape's gonna go over my mouth, then why not put it over my screen, set it down, and then give. And it might just be 5 minutes. It might be 30 minutes. It's incredible what a good question
Mm,
with a curious parent or a
mm,
curious
mm,
partner where that conversation can
yeah.
go. And so if I'm a dad, I'm talking to, and I have had my kids come to me with very heavy things. And the first time, this was pre overpass, and one of my daughters came to me with a problem, and it was a very serious problem at a very young age, and she was just crying. So of course I started crying, and she was explaining this to me, and I start crying more, and she said, "Are you ashamed of me?"
Oof.
And I said, "No. Um, I am so thankful that you felt comfortable talking to me about this. I'm so thankful." So the conversation went from one of shame, where she thought that she would be, my tears were representing again that male role where men don't cry, dads don't cry. They have to be strong, and the way we show strength is not crying. That's all bullcrap. She was thinking, his tears meant that he was ashamed of me, whereas
Oh.
she knew after that my tears meant I'm so thankful
Mm.
that our relationship is such that you can share comfortably with me. And from there, bro, like, we shared that experience. Again, this is pre overpass. I've had a great relationship with my kids, and we talk. If anything, I'm overshare. They know all about my alcohol addiction and drinking in the dark, to pornography, my as a kid, to heavy topics that no one wants to talk about,
Yeah.
and they knew all about it through my sharing and through experiences that I've had, that I'm just as human or more than they are
Mhm,
in
mhm.
these times. But to have that level of communication and that relationship, just to be able to create space, man, where my kid could actually come and talk to me about heavy stuff, it's golden, man. Those things are so golden. So,
No, I love that, and so I wanna just continue the 3 things because it's kinda become a theme. The first one is I love you, right? A kid comes to you and says, I'm struggling with pornography, right? Or somebody's going through we're gonna start with I love you,
yeah,
and then the second thing was create space. Get that cell phone out of the way, let's listen.
yeah.
And then the third one that you've emphasized multiple times, but I just wanna emphasize, is shame-free conversation.
Mm,
There can't be shame in the gospel of Jesus Christ.
yeah,
It Christ doesn't use shame,
it doesn't.
and shame parenting doesn't work.
It's so terrible.
Shame teaching doesn't work. Shame leadership. Some CEOs
Yeah.
try to inspire their workers with shame. And so talk to us a little bit about shame free and what that looks like, because obviously to work with these men and
Yeah.
to get them to come back and feel safe, you have to be shame free. So teach us a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
I mean, we're all of us are getting, again, I think there needs to be a distinction between guilt and shame.
Okay.
The two, guilt is good. Guilt is
Yeah.
something that when we make a mistake, we should feel guilty, and hopefully through that guilt that we progress, that we hopefully don't make future mistakes about whatever that thing is, that challenge or that experience that we had. Shame has that attachment that I'm just a crappy human being.
Yeah.
I'm it's not, it's the guilt that's gotten rotten, and and then when you plant those seeds, man, by by your fruits you'll know them.
Mhm.
And that rotten tree, rotten seed grows into rotten fruit. And so to make that distinction, guilt versus shame, we have men in our support groups who need to feel guilt. We all need to feel guilt when we've made a mistake, and then we all need to learn from it using that guilt. Now, the shame aspect of our groups, a lot of our men have come. In fact, our data shows within the I Love You Bro project that the third, God is more likely to hear from our men when they're struggling than a spouse, and not by much. Only 13% of our men are comfortable talking to their spouse. And the three biggest reasons why that is right now is, number one, they don't want to be a burden.
Mm.
And two, they feel ashamed or that they will be judged
Mm.
by their spouse. And so, having said all of that, the number one challenge our men are experiencing in our groups is that they have problems with their self-worth. And so, a negative self-worth, negative self-talk, so it's just crapping on themselves, it's 78% of our men. So if I have a support group of 10 guys, 8 of them essentially are struggling with negative self-talk, or they think of themselves horribly. So when we're talking about having a shame-free conversation, that shame-free conversation again starts with, I love you. There's nothing you can say to me
Mm.
that's going to change the
Mm.
way that love that I have for you.
Oh, I love that.
There's
I just
nothing.
want to re-say that. There is nothing that you can share with me that's going to change my love for you.
Yes.
That
I think that's an 80s song, Glen Medeiros. Nothing's gonna change my love for you. You remember that one?
80s, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Are you an 80s kid?
Oh, absolutely.
Let's
I'm
go, buddy.
70s, born, No, I don't think as deep as you are.
Yeah, I'm 54, buddy. 71, baby.
Oh, man. But I mean, it's
Yeah.
when we're talking about, shame, again, the idea that, my kid, I'll just keep going back to my kid.
Yeah.
When she approached me and told me these things she was experiencing, it was from the point that I represented someone who the love would not change, having her shared that too. And it's a difficult thing. We have taking a step out of our side of ourselves and just thinking, okay, there's nothing that they can say that's going to change. Now, obviously, we're going to have feelings on the inside. Some things are heavy, and it might require the police, there are different levels of these things, but normal things don't require, the police to get involved. They just require us to just be that guy, to be that dad, and be those people where I can say anything that comes out of her mouth. That's my daughter, and I love her just like she was born. I was holding her in my arms like I was holding Aaron on the overpass. That's the way I'm handling this situation. So whatever she says is going to start there. And then when you're talking about, when they do share, and then you just duct tape in your mouth, put that, spiritual, that emotional, that mental duct tape over your mouth, and you're just listening. And then you're just, sitting there. Even after she's done talking, give it a minute. Let that, have you ever seen Gordon Ramsay talking about cooking a steak or frying a steak? They cook it and then they let it sit.
Yeah. Now we're talking my language.
Yes, me. Oh man, being Italian and Samoan, that's always my language, bro. And so you just let that sit.
Let it sit.
Let that sit. And even if you need to say, should we take a couple minutes? Let that, and then let both of you process that a little bit, and then you can say from there, okay, can I just tell you, I just love you. Thank you. Thank the person for opening up to you.
That's number 4.
Yeah, thank them for how difficult it is to
Wow.
talk about heavy stuff, and the idea that they chose you to say that to.
Yeah.
And that is a sacred space that you're holding for your loved ones, is when you have the opportunity for them to sit and be real with you. That is the best compliment, bro. Like you said earlier, you remind me of some qualities of Jesus. That is an awesome, beautiful thing to say. But I'll tell you, when your loved one's heart is breaking and they don't know who to talk to, and they chose you to be that person to share with, tell them thank you. That is such a beautiful thing to say to me. I hold this space sacred with you. Nothing will change that. I will not share this with anyone. It's between you and I. I know with the relationships and marriages that a lot of times we'll share with our best friends some of these things. Hold that freaking information sacred, man. That's you and your wife, okay? You and your husband, whoever's listening,
Yeah.
you and your kid. Hold that sacred.
Yeah.
Give them that respect. And then also be like, I'm not going to share Susie's or John's
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hold that space sacred. It's a sacred space that I hold. I have a responsibility to hold it. And if I feel like I'm going to share it, be like, I'm going to talk to Susie or Jimmy or whatever beforehand and be like, is this something that I can use as a teaching moment with my kids? But part of that, again, that conversation is complete. Our 3 rules in group is keep it clean, keep it respectful, keep it here. You want to keep those things, those sacred things. Part of that sacredness is confidentiality.
Yeah.
Holding that sacred with you. I share a little bit more about my kids because I've asked permission from my kids
Wow.
to use them as
Wow.
teaching moments in my groups and on podcasts. And they, I don't say everything, all the details, but I use just enough
Yeah.
where the function of the experience where I can effectively teach others from it. And why not keep that sacred space, man? That's a temple between you and your loved one, bro.
Yeah, and some people might be wondering, why are you having this on your podcast, John? Walking with the Savior. Why are we talking about this? But this is what I feel is that we follow Jesus Christ and we get the principles and the truths that he's teaching, but we sometimes struggle to put them into implementation. And sometimes we come across in a way that Christ would never come across. And we come across heavy-handed, and we use shame, and we use, you know, um, not a very good listening. We're hammering them with truths. How could you do that? Blah 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 blah, and then we're hammering them. And I just think that's a misapplication of the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And we all believe the truths, but man, we weren't even planning on going this direction. So
Sorry.
I don't even know how that, but it's dang good.
Yeah.
It's dang good, and it's so needed.
Yeah.
The fact that you said men, 13% of men felt like they could tell their wife something
Yeah.
really challenging, really hard,
Mm.
and maybe something shameful, or they feel ashamed about.
Yeah.
I'm just going 13%. Wow. And then I wonder if we could, get that question, modify it for teenagers. How many teenagers feel like they can tell their parents something really hard, like in a similar context?
I bet you, based on our data with men, and again, these are 18 years or older. I bet you the data for youth would be similar or slightly inflated than with men. And again, these are men that our data is collected at our support groups and workshops. So these are men who are already comfortable to some extent going to a support group. Okay.
Mm.
So they are already comfortable reaching out for help in a sense. They're
Mhm.
going to a support group or going to a mental health workshop of ours. So in a sense, all of our data is short. It's if we're talking about real guys who aren't, out there who aren't coming to a support group, the assumption would be that those numbers are inflated. That they're, when I say 78% of our men are struggling with self-worth, I'll bet you in reality it's probably 81% or something like that.
Yeah.
Our the data on why men don't reach out for help is pretty clear. Number one, we don't want to be a burden. That was at 60%. And then number two, right after was, we feel like there's going to be shame attached, judgment attached to that in that conversation. And that's at 50%. So half of the guys who are not reaching out are not reaching out because of that reason, amongst so many. So with teens, I'm gonna just say it's equal or more.
Yeah.
So.
And that's something to think about, because if we want our teenagers or our children to come to us, it probably starts with the 3 things.
Mm.
I love you. I'm going to work to create that safe place, right? And I think to work to create a safe place with somebody, we have to eliminate just all the shame conversation ahead of time.
Yeah.
That's the
Well,
third one is saying getting rid of the shame, and when they do talk to us, even no matter how small, thanking them and treating that conversation as safe, because it might just be a test ground for them to share something more serious. They
absolutely.
may come to you with baby
Absolutely.
step number 1, see how you handle it. "Can I trust dad?"
Mhm.
And if you go around gossiping, sharing with all the people they don't want you to share that with, then that just shuts down the safe space. It's over.
It's over, right? And it's the same with men. And I would say again, it's either the same or inflated with teens. Would be, you have one chance. If your husband or wife opens up to you, again, I'm leaning always from the men's mental health aspect, but if a guy opens up one time to his wife, and that is there, it's discarded, and they have a negative experience through either against shame, judgment, or man up, or
Yeah.
just pray about this, it'll go away, just your faith is just being tested.
Yeah.
If they have an experience like that, you will not get another chance with them, and if you do, it's going to be a lot of work on your part and their part, to get to that level again. But for me, addressing with teens specifically, for me, I think it's imperative creating the space has to be an example of me sharing, and so
Ooh, that's interesting.
I'll have to, my kids have to see me showing emotion. They have to hear me talking about difficult things, and it's going to be up to you what those things are and what you're comfortable with, or I should say what is, appropriate for the age. But my kids were used to hearing about all of these things: pornography, alcohol, jail, me saying the most, lucrative, I should say, prayers of my life came from, my tears, my face sticking to the concrete floor of a jail cell. And so,
Oh, wow.
they knew all of these things. They knew all of these things about me, my imperfections, and how I've failed forward with a lot of these
Mm,
decisions that I've
that's
made.
good.
That if they can see me doing that, or if they've seen me continuously do that, it will just increase the odds of them doing something similar. Like that, not
Mm,
that they're gonna, not that you want
mm.
them to have an alcohol addiction or porn, but when they do, and it's inevitable,
It is inevitable.
challenges are coming,
Challenges are coming.
why not you, or establish a precedent with your kids where they know where to turn for the remission of their sins and
Mm,
for peace, and that starts with us,
yeah.
man.
That's beautiful. And there's a scripture, we talk of Christ, we preach Christ, that our children may know to what source they may turn for remission of sins. And and I think maybe it's like we talk of Christ, we preach of Christ, that our children, maybe it should be like, I talk of Christ, I turn to Christ for
Amen.
for a remission of my sins,
Amen. Amen.
so that my kids, my friends, my spouse maybe can know the source to which they can turn for a remission of sins.
Yeah.
I'd like to jump into a little bit of your story because I find it fascinating and it's so New Testament like. Christ called broken people to do miracles.
Mm.
And I guess you could say that in the Old Testament too. I shouldn't, eliminate the Old Testament,
No, New Testament for sure. I
but
completely.
like, hey, Zacchaeus in the tree, the tax collector. Oh, is Jesus going to chew him out for being a jerk and being whatever, whatever? And no, hey, can we go have lunch together? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. On and on and on. Examples of Jesus. And here you are. You just poured your heart out to us, brother, and judgment free, shame free. Um, you know, time in jail, alcoholism, pornography, um, and the Lord calls you.
Mm.
And I told Joe when we came in, and Joe has touched my heart on several occasions, because of "I love you, bro." I love you, bro. When Joe says it, you start to feel it, and I use the phrase now a lot more. In fact, you know, I just use the phrase
Yeah.
"I love you, bro," and I'll tell friends and I'll text them that. And We were talking about what do you do when somebody and you don't know what to say? You start with "I love you." And this past semester, I had an administrator kind of get on me for something. It was kind of
Uh,
a misunderstanding, and and then he left and I left, and I was trying to not take offense because that's my
oh,
new goal. Yeah. Not
so
take
difficult.
offense.
Yeah.
Right? And so I took it, and then this brother reached out to me within a half hour and said, "Hey, I don't feel like I handled that the right way," which
Oh
would
wow.
be which would be kind of, "Yeah, I don't think you did." And I didn't know what to say in that moment because I was like, do I go, "Yeah, throw down the sledgehammer. Yeah, you're a jerk." This is the response I wrote in the text. "I love you, bro.
Oh man.
Let's move
Beautiful.
forward."
Beautiful.
Right? But
Beautiful.
that was inspired by you, and you've shaped me that way. And so when we came into this meeting today, or sorry, friendship buddy hangout talk, we're calling a podcast today. I said, "Joe, you remind me of the Savior."
Ah, so beautiful. That is nicest compliment anyone can ever give me. Second only to "I love you, Dad." From
I love you, Dad. Okay. Yeah. And I love your relationship with your daughters and how they're there to help you and support you, and you're opening their hearts to
oh,
the
thank
mission you're about. But I wanted to just talk about this, that Jesus called you 2 weeks after trying to give up alcohol,
you. Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, when we talk about getting rid of shame,
Yeah.
if a brother's out there thinking I am worthless and God has no use for me,
Mm. It's rampant.
it is.
It's rampant, man.
And we feel like we have to be perfect for God to use us, and that's just total misconcept.
Yeah.
But can you tell us a little bit about your journey with Christ since you've embraced
Absolutely.
this?
And again, I preface all of my comments from the men's mental health aspect of everything, and it being a dad. Those are just the things that I know. Dad and men's mental health. I am just a Joe, average Joe, and I lead with it. And when I say that, it's obviously I have so many weaknesses, and to be able to use Jesus to capitalize on my weaknesses is preferential than just keeping them. So I had addiction to alcohol. I still have temptation to drink. When times are good and when times are not so good. And so I use my demons, so to speak. When at that time I was 2 weeks sober, and I was so close, bro. I was sick that I was so close to just being like, well, if this is going to be the way it is, and I'm already lowly at a low point, then I might as well just drink while I'm low.
Mm,
If I'm
mm,
low, then I might as
mm.
well be at the bottom of the barrel rather than just in the middle. And so I was in this mindset of, things can't get any worse for me. I'm just might as well just drink. And so I thought of myself as just this piece of crap dude who just couldn't be a good dad. It did not, again, like, just did not have any value. I
Mm.
feel that so deeply it resonates with me when we're talking about self-worth, that we're the biggest critics of ourselves, and so in this case with me it was finding uh, trying to find my value in something, and as men we're trying to find value. Okay, it's our work, it's our being able to provide, it's being able to protect. These things remind us that we have value, where our worth has nothing to do with our wallet, it has nothing to do with our weight,
No.
it has nothing to do with these things, and so that been programmed to think that they are. So for me, the overpass happened, and then Aaron is his name. He constantly saying, "Oh, Joe, thank you for saving my life." And I was like, "Bro, thank you for saving my life,"
Wow.
because the God knew that if I can literally make Joe, this dude who was just you know, bottom of the barrel, bro. And I can make weak things strong. It literally, that is what it was I can make weak things strong. And so I used him and I know that sounds terrible, but that I used his atonement for me, his love for me, to magnify it for someone else.
Mm.
And I think that's we're just simply, Aaron told me this later, and I don't talk about it too much. I just wanted to hear his side of the story, the
Okay.
overpass,
Yeah.
and he said to me, he's not from America. He's a Micronesian dude, so he's not, uh, his English is not his first language, and so when he's telling me this, using very simple words, and he said, I had my head was full of noise and was so loud, and when I got to the overpass, I was just looking to take a drive to clear my head, and it actually took him to the overpass, this drive, and his head was full of so much noise and yelling and just this crowd of voices, and so he wanted to just end these voices, and he went to the overpass, and things happened, and then he was about to. He said literally, I was excited with the aspect of dying, with death,
Wow.
and then he said I was about to, and I looked and I hear these words, "I love you, bro," and it went, and I suddenly heard just nothing, silence, peace, and I looked down and I see this guy, this stranger, and then I said it was at that point that I started thinking about my son, his little son, and I had a fear of death. And that he goes, right as I had that fear, you jumped up and grabbed me and held me, and we sat together. And so it was again two people at the lowest where their value they thought was just at the lowest, and we in my case using praying for a miracle in my life to quit drinking, and those miracles do not come they are not facilitated in the way that we're comfortable with at all ever. And
Mm.
to be able to pray for a miracle and to have this situation happen, if you would have told me that before, I'd have been like, screw this. There's no chance I want this to happen. It was so heavy. I'm still traumatized from it. Every overpass I drive over, every bridge I cross, I still get super anxious. I feel like my heart's gonna pump out of my chest. But it is worth it because that experience saved my life. It stopped me from drinking. I still have demons from drinking. I still have
Mhm.
demons with everything else. But I tell the guys in group, you know, of course, with me through Jesus, I make my demons work for me, bro. They are not in the closet. They're freaking with, again, visual person. I got leashes around these suckers. I got chains to them, and they're like dogs working for me. They're pulling me along, and if I gotta have them for the rest of my life, then damn, I'm gonna show everyone these are my dogs. These are my demons. I have, I see if you think of like Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
those huge demon dog
Yeah.
things, and I kind of picture those, and but I got control over those. They're my demons, and I'm going to use these as teaching tools and as reminders to me that you could shame me, you can do whatever you want, okay, but these are mine forever. And I'll use them instead of just frickin' burying them in a closet of shame, where I don't want anyone to know about it. Screw that, dude. I'll talk about jail. I'll talk about all of these different experiences that I've had and mistakes that I've made, and I'll almost promote it. Promote it. This is who I am. That's how I create space for me, and that's how all these people, strangers around the world, DM me and send me emails through our website because of how the space is that I've created. And wouldn't the magic just be to have that with our families
Yeah.
and loved ones, that they just feel comfortable
Yeah.
sharing with us, that we can have that
It's
relationship.
so true. And hiding the demons and acting like we're, perfect is just not healthy.
None of us are perfect. Perfect is it's is the opposite of excellence. Let's just be excellent.
Let's be
Let's be
excellent.
excellent, like
Let's strive
Bill and
for
Ted.
excellence.
Bill and Ted said, "Be excellent, man." Let's shoot for that, man. Perfect is that comes later.
Yeah.
Perfection.
Next life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's just try to be excellent to each other.
So, I mean, obviously, you've done some miraculous things. You've begun this hero's journey, is what I like to call it, and you're on this journey. What role does the Savior play in your journey to chain up the demons or to do the work that you do?
Yeah, and I always think again visually, in Gethsemane when I think about the Lord and experiencing all levels of emotion, sadness, emotional pain, physical pain in every way. I do think about the Lord thinking, I need to have a drink right now. His temptation to, I feel the need to drink. I feel the double pneumonia. The Lord feels my lungs filling with fluid, and He feels my emotional attachment to my shame.
Mm,
He feels
mm,
every little thing that I was feeling at that time, and to get to the point where I am now, I can. The Lord got me to the point, and it's up to me through His atonement to stay, to be able to say, okay, well, again, that's a beautiful story, but where am I going to go from here? And so I use His atonement. I continuously think about Him experiencing the things that I'm feeling today, the anxiety, or I feel like my relationship is super crappy with someone, or I've made a mistake and I need to make it better. Whatever, these little to small, people just only pray and they think that the God and the Lord's atonement only works during certain parts of their life. When someone has cancer, heaven forbid, some of these bigger things. But why not use His atonement with the little things, little tiny things throughout the day? So for me, it's like, hey, I opened up this window of heaven for you, and it's going to be heavy,
yeah.
and it's going to the point where you can't hold it all. This blessings of windows being open, and that it's going for you to maintain, to stay where you are, for more miracles to happen in your life. You have to continuously exercise this atonement that I've created for you. And if you feel like that you're not seeing growth and miracles, maybe you need to take a step back and take a look at when was the last time I utilized His atonement for me. And has it been a while? Okay, was it only when I was at my best that I was praying, or only at my worst when I was praying? Can you imagine your kids only talking to you and sharing with you when things are bad?
Yeah, yeah,
You
no
know,
kidding. That gets old real quick,
it gets old
"Hey,
real
dad, I
quick.
need $50."
Yeah, or when they need something, man, I would hate for my relationship with my kids to be that. And in this case, He gives us the tools to communicate, and He's always got an open line. And when I feel like I'm getting tempted more to drink, then I exercise my open line with Him. There ain't no call waiting in heaven, bro. It's,
I
what
love
I'm saying?
that.
And it's on my terms. He is always there. I just need to freaking get on my knees, humble myself, and come to the conclusion that I need Him. Like I needed Him at the overpass, like I needed Him before the overpass, and now that I need Him after and moving forward. And if I want to continuously see these miracles, and He has created space for me to share with Him.
Mm,
God and the Lord has created the
mm,
ultimate shame free, judgment free, loving space to communicate with Him. That if I if there is a problem, it's the problem's on my end. It's my Wi-Fi. It's my cell signal
yeah,
that's not good
yeah,
enough, or it's not been peak. I should say it's always the value of my signal is always there, but the idea that I'm not tapping into it, and that I'm not exercising that line more often, that's open. That's on me, man.
yeah.
That's on me. I didn't really know that, really, bro, until the overpass.
Mm,
And now I do. And now it's like, as traumatic as it was, as bad as I felt, I know that things will get better. I know that I am awesome. I know that people love me, bro. And to get a steady reminder of those things, I need to utilize that space He's created.
yeah, and honestly, I think one thing that helps you is saying, "I love you so much."
Mm,
Like, I think Jesus would say, "I love you" 10,000,000 times a day.
oh my gosh, yeah.
I think and He speaks through you, in a sense, every time you say, "I love you."
Hmm.
And because and I'll just give you my experience just with, like, whenever I take time to create space and sit with Jesus, and and imagine him sitting with me and, maybe I'm going through something or maybe I'm just, trying to have a moment, and I sit there and I say and I try to listen for what he has for me. It always begins with "I love you."
Yeah, I mean, uh, the ultimate communicator, the ultimate lover of human beings, the ultimate opposite of shame. And I think it's we have this idea within Christianity that God is too holy, or I cannot
Mhm.
be have
Mhm.
attributes that he has because he's so high and so holy.
Mhm.
Whereas he's given us Jesus, who's shown us in so many different ways through Scripture, and through our own thoughts and inspiration from him, that he is tangible. He's a tangible person. There's a reason why he wants you to come feel his wounds, because he
Mhm.
wants you to know he exists,
Mhm.
that he's freaking human,
Mhm.
that he is right there with us. And he's, again, created this space for us to be able to talk about some difficult, heavy things. In our data, it goes, number one is spouse. We don't feel comfortable sharing with our spouse. Number two is other family members, so like
Mhm.
adult kids, parents, cousins. Number three is God, the least comfortable sharing with. It was at 18%. Spouse was 13, and other family was 15. And so those are so low. We have a problem, an epidemic, not just with sharing with our family and loved ones
Mm.
clearly, but we don't want to share with God.
Wow, that is interesting.
We think he's so ashamed of us
Mm.
that we can't even, as whatever faith you believe in, Christian faith, we have an epidemic of especially Christian men,
Wow.
feeling I can worship God and I can go to church and I can do all of these good things, but if I do something wrong, he is so ashamed of me that I cannot communicate with him. I'm not worthy to
Wow.
communicate with him.
That is mind-blowing.
Isn't that
You're
just,
you're saying 1 in 5 men feel comfortable sharing with God their
yeah,
problems.
especially their
Oh, they're
mental health.
emotional.
Yeah, their mental health,
Emotional.
anything that has to do with any emotional challenge. So again, these guys in our support groups are experiencing everything from addictions to divorce to grief, loneliness, things of that nature, chronic illness, any sort of challenge that comes up in life. And what we're seeing in the data is that men who are Christian are they're not comfortable talking to their wives, they're not comfortable talking to their other family members, and they're absolutely not comfortable talking to God about these things. So who
Wow.
are they talking to them about is the question.
Pretty much nobody.
Yeah, they're
Which
keeping it
it
in.
it just it makes me wonder as a Christian educator, what are we teaching or how is it being taught that people are afraid to tell God their problems or their emotional problems, you know?
Yeah, they again we're putting him, and he rightfully so, on a pedestal that is just cannot be reached. It cannot be
Mm.
touched.
Mm.
God gives the idea that God gives commandments, he gives, he gives us inspiration, but he does it from such a place that he has no idea what I'm experiencing. And that since he has no idea what I'm experiencing, he's not relatable. He cannot relate to the experiences or the challenges that I'm facing right now. And so the for us to be able to accept that God, he's a perfect listener and a perfect lover of human beings and his children, that he knows in order to be perfect in that way, he has to be relatable. He has to be tangible. He has to have a body like mine that can experience addiction, that he has experienced addiction, that he has experienced suicide ideation to the deepest
Wow.
depths.
Wow.
He's experienced emotions that people just don't want to talk about,
Yeah.
and they would never affiliate with God.
Yeah.
But when Jesus said, I took every pain and every emotion and I felt it all at the same time, we forget, okay, it's not just sadness, it's suicidal thoughts. It's not just, physical pain, it's chronic, depression. It's not just physical and mental. Bro, like, we have to think of our relationship and our communication with the Lord is he knows precisely the depression that you're feeling. He knows more in depth than anyone could possibly imagine. Bad suicide ideation. You know
Wow.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
wow.
we just don't attribute that to
No.
the atonement or to Jesus
Yes.
on the way. He just felt all the bad things. That's what we
Yes.
think. Okay, it's not the detail of it. Like it's so profound if we can think about him from that point.
Wow. I'm with you. That's profound. Um, because we can then get past this shame or this like you don't understand me and start to connect with him on a real level. And I think when you get to the point where you're real with God is where you can really meet God.
Amen. I love that.
Yeah, but if you're going to just be superficial, and I hate the phrase we sometimes hear in church, who wants to say the prayer? I'm like, quit saying prayers, man. I don't want to say prayers. Who wants to talk to God? Who wants to, who wants to get real?
Yeah.
The way we treat it is like, I mean, first of all, if you're a teacher of a class, don't ask somebody if they want to pray. Just invite them to pray. Hey, will you pray?
Yeah. I love that.
But don't stand up there in front of the class and say, anybody want to say the prayer? No, I don't say prayers.
Yeah.
I talk to God. And it's
Yeah.
like, just get real.
I
Get
love that.
get get like to the humble level that, hey, we can have a conversation with this person who loves us deeply and sincerely, and he's gonna provide space. And if you're feeling shame, it's not from him.
Yes. It
If
is
you
not
are feeling shame, it is not from the Savior. It is not from Heavenly Father. It is not from them. It's somewhere else.
It's coming from somewhere else, and I'll tell you. And you do not have to be two different experiences where we are talking about what's the order of prayer, how does it have to be, what does
Yeah,
prayer
yeah,
look
yeah,
like.
yeah, yeah.
You do not have to be on your knees, man. Obviously
No.
that's something that we people often do. I get the gesture of it. But the two most important prayers I've said in my life, one was in a jail cell in fetal position on
Mm.
the concrete floor, crying, just weeping, just help me. And I remember crying again on this concrete floor, toilet right next to my head, this steel toilet. And I remember the salt from my tears just making my face stick. It was sticking to the ground as I was lying there, saying the most desperate prayer, hoping that I was being heard. And the second prayer was on that overpass where I was just standing there, like feeling this guy's gonna jump. This is gonna happen in front of my kids, and I can't do anything about it. Thinking that I just wasn't capable, and that I didn't have any of the tools. And luckily, I felt like I had the tool of prayer to say the most quick, just um, whole heart prayer in about 5 seconds. 4 seconds said this prayer. And in those two, I try to remember, and it's difficult, but I try to remember those two prayers that I offered. The Lord is not looking for me to always be on my knees. That prayer that we can offer can be in our bed lying down. It could be at my desk at work. It can be at the liquor store, bro. As I was waiting in line to buy another bottle, that prayer could come at any time. And when it is offered, his power is such that it can crack any atmosphere, um, any situation that I'm in. His power can be with me and can touch me in any situation. And so when we're talking about having real conversations, we're talking about having real creating space for our loved ones and teens and in our relationships. God has created through His Son Jesus Christ. He's created um, a person who is relatable, who is always willing to listen in any situation, in any predicament that you're in. And the idea is that if we could just have a little faith in ourselves and in Him, that miracles will happen at the bottom of the barrel. Whether you feel like you're top shelf or at the bottom, miracles happen in both situations, and they have to, or else uh, I just can't survive. I cannot survive without them. And so please remember, whoever's listening, watching, those prayers, that communication that you have or you don't have, or you wish that you could have with your family, with your friends. Let's start with that communication being with God. Let's start with that one in his name, in Jesus Christ's name. Let's just start with there saying, you haven't, I know that I have been quiet. I know that I've struggled and I've been silent with you, but I want to be better. I want to talk. Let's have that, and I'm willing to listen. And we start there, and then suddenly that bleeds into our other relationships. I want to talk, Dad. I want to talk to you. I want to try one time. And then suddenly our communication at every level with every person in our life, it starts opening up a little bit more, you know. And not to say people who are non-believers who are listening, the same goes with you. Whether you believe in God or not, he believes in you. And I'll tell you, even if you just feel like you're speaking to the frickin' universe, just saying, please, I haven't been the best I can be. Clearly, I want to be better. Please, can you please help me? I'm willing to listen. And how that can really supremely help us in every aspect of our life, bro.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I just love you, bro.
I love you, bro.
And I just thank you so much for taking this time. I felt so inspired with so many things.
Me too, man.
And one thing I will say, just kind of, you say, I love you, bro. I say, you're awesome. He's created a whole project that is phenomenal and it's growing. And hopefully one day it's nationwide, perhaps even worldwide. I mean, what you're doing is monumental. What I'm doing with like you're awesome and giving out T-shirts and things like that. But what I want to just testify of is when you commit to doing good, you commit to doing kindness, because wearing these T-shirts and the signs has transformed me, and it's given me. It's hard to have a bad day if I'm trying to convey to people that you're awesome,
Yeah.
you're amazing,
Preach.
you are loved.
Good word.
It does something for us. I know it's done something for you. I can see it. You're a different man than you were 2.5 years ago. And when I went all on you are awesome, you're amazing, and holding up signs and throwing out T-shirts and telling people they're incredible, it's done something for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be that big, right? And if you're listening to this, find your own. But if it's spreading good, kindness, and love, it will change you.
Absolutely, man.
It will change you.
And I should say, I have a question in our support groups that asks, what do you want to get from the support group? Meaning, like, what do you need?
Uh-huh.
And there's maybe like 12 different things on there, and from a space to open up and share, love from a brotherhood or validation, things, all these different things. And I'm a hugger,
Yes, you are.
and I was thinking, man, some of these guys, every time I hug them before the group ends, sometimes they're a little
Steph.
oh, not Joe again, almost like they're my kids, and I'm a dad, and I put in there in this question an option at the very end, a box to put that says receive a hug from a bro, and I let it sit, and I let the data kind of accumulate and collect, and a month later, I looked at the data, and I would have guessed. Do you want to guess real quick what, if you were just
I need a hug.
Yeah, like I
I'm going to
came
say
to the
25%.
yeah, like I came to the group,
I'm thinking
there
25%.
was right now it's at 61%. So over 6 out of 10 dudes, they clicked an option to receive a hug from a bro. And I share that with you now, with you mentioning, you change as you're saying, and as you're doing these kind things, you change. And what it does for me, and this little, thinking just from first a data standpoint, is we know men need brotherly love, and they receive hope and connection through this physical
Yeah.
in a safe space. And so, and now, of course, now I was a hugger before. I'm even more so now.
Yeah.
Whether you want it or not, bro, I'm coming for you, and I'm giving
Because
you
you
a
don't know
hug.
who the 6 out of 10
You
is.
don't. And
Yeah.
so my assumption will always be, all of them are that 6 out of 10. So I'm going to give them all a hug, whether they act like they want it or not. And so I say that with, those hugs, with every hug, with every I love you, bro, there there is a change in me every single time that reminds me that I'm loved, that God loves me, bro,
Mm.
that
Mm.
I am worth it.
Mm.
I have these. I'll give you this one just so you have it on you. We have these wrist baller bands that I give out to our guys at support group, and of course, one it says "I love you, bro," but on the other side it says "You are always worth it." And I think I put the "always" in all caps there because sometimes I think we think we're worth it sometimes, and I think sometimes we don't think we're worth it. And so I like to put a reminder on this band for all of our men to see that yes, you're worth it, but you're always worth it. Whether again at the bottom of the barrel or at the top shelf of your life, you feel like. And every time I give a guy a hug, a bro a hug, or a woman, anybody I'm giving a hug to, I hold it just for a little bit longer. I can feel them letting go. I'm holding on for another 3 seconds, bro. 3 seconds or so just to emphasize to them that I love them, but it makes me feel like I'm loved every time I do that and every time I say I love you, bro.
Mm. Love one another. You go read the last sermon of the Savior's life. First, that would be like John 13 to 17, 18, somewhere in there. He says, love one another like 6 times. Like, I think that's he's like,
Mantra.
I know I got 24 hours left. This is probably my last speech, my last message. Maybe it was at the Last Supper. It's kind of hard to know exactly where he's at when he's giving this, but I love you and teach people to love one another. Love one another. Love one another. Did I say love one another? What would
Let me
be
say it again.
Jesus' parting words in my mind? So aside from the last 7 words spoken on the cross and all that, right? It clearly reverberates. Hey, I want you to love people.
So connected.
He didn't say, hey, remind everybody my commandments.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a commandment guy because to me, they provide a safe route.
Absolutely.
And but he did not say that. It was love. Love. There is some keep the commandments in there, but love reverberates strongest. And I will never leave you comfort, and I'm not leaving you comfortless. Stuff like that,
Comfortless.
right?
Yeah.
And the message is love. So, with that, Joe, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate
and
it, man.
To everybody out there, let's work on just saying, "I love you."
Yeah, we love you, bro. You're always worth it. Always.
And you are loved, and you're always worth it. Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Walking with the Savior. Look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great day, everybody.